So back to where we left off. In the next portion, we're going to look at the basic panel over here and work with some of the tonal changes to see what we can get as far as drawing these two women out forward and to bring interesting texture, but to downplay a little bit of that background light there. So we'll start off with some exposure. Remember, exposure works with the highlight section, so the right-hand side of the frame. And just by pulling that up just a little bit, I'm going about half a stop, a little bit over. Oh, that looks really nice. So I'm going to go back and forth just to see. Yeah, that's a lot better. Now, I've killed some of the dynamic of them being in the shadow, but at the same time, that doesn't bother me. I want more of them and less of this to be the highlight here. All right, highlights themselves. This is going to leave the shadows alone and allow me to either pull in and intensify that shadow or that highlight, or to dial down and to really dull out that highlight. So I like it when it's a little bit brighter. It's a good backdrop for them. Now we'll go down to the shadows. Now the shadows, if the shadows are too deep, by going to the positive, I can lighten them up. So if you look at the leaves up in the tree branches up there, well, that's nice, but it's also giving me too much. So what I want is I want to come down from the 0 point. Just make sure there's some weight in there. Now the cool thing about that is that notice that we start getting some streaks in this background, so that light's becoming sculpted and looks a lot more interesting. All right, the last piece is the white slider. Now remember before I told you about the white slider, like try to use it more as a throttle than as an actual push to the highlighted areas. So I'm going to pull this in and just watch right behind your wheel. So let me take this back to 0. And if we zoom in, let's go in there. Command plus. Starting to get to that point where it looks like we're about to lose some detail. So when I pull this down, it starts to pull some of that back. And really, I can do a lot. Oh, that's all the way. Yeah, this one's just soaking up that highlight change. Now, the thing that I want to be careful of is that I don't go too far and kill the rest of my tones. So let's move around a little bit. Not bad, not bad. All right, I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to double click on the hand to fit the screen. Now the last piece here, the blacks, were actually pretty good with the deepness on this frame. But notice if I just pull it down a little bit, right in the road, oh, that looks good. That looks really good. Now, I'm going to go back to the original. Here's what we had before. And it was decent, not a bad choice. But notice by brightening up some things and by making sure that the shadows stayed dark enough, I've got the same feel as what I had before, but now this light makes sense. It's integrated and it works together with my subjects better. The last thing I'm going to try here, I'm going to pull the clarity up to about 30. I'm going to go a little higher. I have to be careful. There we go, just under 50 actually. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see this. So 46 is where I ended there. Bring this down to 0. And watch their faces and that light in the background as I change this. It just becomes apparent. Good. All right, I think that's pretty good. I might take the vibrance. What happens if I pull it? No. This one needs that color, so maybe I'll push it up just a little bit. And maybe I'll take a little bit of the saturation down just to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. You have to take a lot of saturation out to make a big difference, so. All right, let's go back, let's fit this to screen. And I'm going to turn off, then on. Yeah, I think that's a good change. So that's going to be the first one of a few that we look at here. Now, what I'm going to, before I sign out, I want you to look up here and notice that my shadows have clipped out. And that's probably, in the shadow by her neck and in her shirt and a little bit up here. But that's okay. I don't need that. That's not information that's going to make or break the image. And I'm not going to need to see that deep into them. So I think this is a good place for me to end that one. So instead of going into Photoshop, I'm just going to hit done. That takes me out of the camera raw.